weekend. A time to remember those who have served and salute those who are now serving in America's armed forces. And drag racing is a truly American sport. And today, our battle will be waged over the quarter mile. In Top Fuel, Larry Dixon holds a healthy 143-point lead, but Kenny Bernstein gained ground in Englishtown by beating Dixon for the first time in 4 matchups this year. Take a look at the updated points, because after qualifying, it's now 147. That's right, Dixon's picked up 4 more, and Corey McLennan, Tony Schumacher, and Doug Coletta, they got to get on their horse. They're playing catch-up, Bill Stevens.
No, Larry Dixon isn't. In fact, yesterday, another one of those typical Miller Lite rifle shots. 458, 320, and Larry Dixon is your #1 qualifier going into the race today. Now, what's so big about that? Maybe because of what Kenny Bernstein didn't do, and that is run well in qualifying. We'll get another look at Larry Dixon's 458 from yesterday, and Kenny Bernstein went up in smoke in his best run of the weekend, a 473 on Friday. That puts him in at #5. After winning the race last week in Englishtown, we thought they'd get off to a better start at the Budweiser King team, but it's not to be. They'll have their work cut out for them today, Dave Reed.
Well, Bill, drag racing is all about taking advantage of a situation when it presents itself. And today, Corey McLennan would like to take dual opportunity. The fact he's #2 in qualifying with a very consistent race car. Add to that the fact that Larry Dixon, Kenny Bernstein, Doug Coletta, and Tony Schumacher are all on the opposite side of the ladder. Well, if they can keep that consistency up, let's not make the check out to Corey Mack just yet. But he does have a huge opportunity to make up a lot of points, Marty.
Thanks, Dave. And I want to, while you take a look at the ladder, I want to bring in Mike Dunn, because, Mike, as you look at these matchups, you are the track record holder, both ends, of 449, 331 miles an hour, and we do have some interesting first-round matchups.
Yeah, some great matchups. I like that Dixon-Weiss matchup. Scott Weiss has, been the giant killer many times. He's taken me out a number of times, finishing from that number 16 position. I also like Darrell Russell and Callan trying to get that first-round win of the year. Darrell Russell's been running very well.
And you can see the burnouts have just been completed on our first pair of Top Fuel machines. You're looking at Doug Coletta on the Mac Tools Top Fueler. The #8 qualifier, Doug Herbert, will be over in the right-hand lane. And Coletta was the 2000 runner-up here. And Doug Herbert won this event back in 1999.
Doug Coletta, he was on a monster run in that second session yesterday. He spun the tires in the first session. They came back, ran 2:15 to the 3:30, was the best time to that point, but then he spun the tires shortly after that and ran that 477. Now, that's we talk about all the time. You get in that tire shape where it's a hard fix to try to figure out whether it's too aggressive or not aggressive enough. Where Doug Coletta spun the tires out in the middle, that's an easier fix. That was just basically overpounding the track, too much clutch at that point. Connie Coletta's been doing this for a long time, so I look for this car to step up and run pretty good.
There's Doug Herbert. He's been to the finals once this year, trying to get the Snap-on Tools dragster back into consistency. They've had that one bright moment, but other than that, it has not been the kind of season that they have wanted. Opportunity, first round, take the first step to get back to the finals once again. Takes the first step, 473 at 311 miles an hour. Doug Herbert, 490, and he's heading home. And we're underway here at Topeka. ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports and the exclusive home of the National Hot Rod Association, presents the $50 million NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series. Today, we're at Heartland Park, Topeka, for the 14th running of the O'Reilly Summer Nationals, presented by Castrol GTX. And with the huge American flag, we thank you for spending part of your Memorial Day weekend with us. It's a great racing day with all the action going on at Indy and Charlotte and right here in America's breadbasket. And look at the grandstands as they are jammed. Hello again, everybody. I'm Marty Reed. He is Mike Dunn, and we are so glad that you're with us. And we talked a little bit during NHRA today about track conditions, and we saw, you said that the middle of the course was going to be critical because it's getting warm.
Yeah, and it's definitely the track conditions makes a big difference. As it gets hot, that rubber gets a little bit greasier. And we saw Doug Coletta on that previous run. He spun the tires out there in the middle. This run, I'm sure Connie Collette softened it up. We're not going to see a lot of tire shake so much today. The track here in Topeka is pretty forgiving early in the run right there. Nice, smooth, good contact. But Connie Collette obviously backed it down in the middle of the course because he only went 254 mile an hour in the 8th mile. He wanted to make sure he got that car down the racetrack to get that first round win.
And as we take a look skyward, you can see that no threat of rain. Remember, Friday we got all of Pro Stock 1 session, half of Funny Car, and none of Top Fuel. So all these Top Fuel cars only had 2 shots at it yesterday. And here's Rhonda Hartman-Smith, the number 7 qualifier. And she'll be in the left lane alongside David Grubnick over in the right lane, the number 10 qualifier. It's the first time this year that these two have locked horns.
You know, David Grubnick at the beginning of the year was running some good times. That car was running very consistently in the 460 range. He seems to have struggled a little bit here in the last couple of races. They want to get that turned around, obviously. Rhonda Hartman Smith, on the other hand, that car ran very good in the early part of the runs at the early part of the season. Wasn't making the big numbers, you know, the big charge on the other end. Lately, that car has come around. It's not running quite as aggressively down below, but the car's making it to the finish line, running good mile per hour, and that's helping make that car run a little bit more consistent.
A 485 at 288. She gets it down the racetrack and is advancing to second round. Parker Johnstone, what are you up to today?
Well, Marty, yesterday in qualifying, I took you behind the scenes as we looked at some of the personnel and the jobs they do in the NHRA. Today, I'll be doing more of the same because it takes a virtual army to pull one of these events off without a hitch.
Thanks, Parker. Appreciate that. As we take a look at one of the air tankers that refuel our armed forces in the skies. It's Memorial Day weekend. Thanks for spending it with us. Back down trackside, this is the matchup we were talking about in NHRA today, Mike. It's 73-year-old Chris Karamazini. He's there in the right lane against the 29-year-old Melanie Droxel over in the left lane. And we were talking about the fact that the Greek started racing 28 years before Melanie was even born.
You know, I remember the Greek. I thought he was pretty old when I was a kid reading up on it back in Southern California. You know, the Greek is a legend. I mean, he's never won a national event, but what he did back in the 60s and early 70s is nothing short of amazing, running all the match races. You know, the Greek here, he's been running pretty well, but he's had those 4.0 reaction times that are near perfect the last 2 races. I mean, he's definitely going up there taking a shot at it, but boy, he's guessing good.
Well, he hit perfect against Kenny Bernstein, a 4.0 flat, and then a 4.04 against Rhonda. So can he do it again, and can he advance? He has not won a round yet here in 2002. Saw the red light come on. Chris went way early, 3:55, as he guessed a little bit too soon, and a 4:79 for Melanie at 2:98, and Chris actually threw away a 4:78, so he could have had a good chance at winning the race if he just could have kept from red lighting. So we've got to take a commercial break. Stay with us. A lot more Top Fuel first round, and of course Funny Car and Pro Stock. You're going to see it all today right here at Topeka. Before we get back to the racing action with Kenny Bernstein coming up next, earlier in the week, in fact, it was Thursday night at the Governor's Mansion here in Topeka, Kenny Bernstein was honored by Lieutenant Governor Scheer and his wife, Judy, and standing in for Governor Bill Graves, who was on a trade mission to China. But they made it Kenny Bernstein Day on part of the Forever Red Tour. It was a grand affair, and Kenny was very moved by it all, as appropriately so. And take a look now at the race after a final. This is KB when he's been in the finals this season, and what's happened to him the next race out, and not as far as he needs to go, and what's going to happen here.
Yeah, he definitely doesn't need to be doing that. I mean, you're in the point chase with Larry Dixon, and he's getting that big, huge, lead that he has now. You want to be able to follow up and keep that momentum going. It came out first round, ran a 473 in the first session, which wasn't too bad considering the conditions, and then spun the tires out in the middle like we've been talking about. Tim Richards is going to race a racetrack. He isn't concerned about who's in the other lane. He knows his driver Kenny's going to leave on time. He's going to get that car down the track. Tim Richards is going to try to get that car down the track as quick as it'll go.
I got to get this in. Lewis Bloom, our stats guy, comes up with some great ones. There's John Smith. John is 35 years old. Now, John Smith was 13 the last time anybody named Smith beat Kenny Bernstein. Now, I don't know where Lewis comes up with these, but he digs deep. Be a little while longer. A 463 at 320 miles an hour, and John Smith cannot take out Kenny Bernstein. So round one of the march to the finals is in the books. Let's go to Dave Reef.
Tim, that one wasn't exactly a lock, but it was a very nice number. 463, 320. Got a little bit of malfunction with that scoreboard down there.
Well, 63 is good. Right now, it shook real hard early, and I didn't think it was going to make it, but I'm happy to make it.
So what do we have to look forward to the rest of the day, Dan? I assume this track's going to get warmer.
Oh, it's going to get a lot more warmer, and it's going to get a lot more difficult to deal with.
And these guys are going to be scratching their heads a bunch, Bill.
Melanie Troxel played the escape artist on that one. Greek actually went quicker, but too quick on the tree and go to the second round.
Yeah, I certainly heard his car leave early, and thank God I saw my wind light on over there, or I know, I would have been treed on that one. But, you never know with Greek. He has 4.0 lights, sometimes red lights, taking those chances. But we're just happy to be going to the next round. Thanks to everybody from Mac Tools helping us out, and O'Reilly's for putting on a great event.
On balance, this car has had some success in the first round this year.
Hey, Mike, I'm just walking up to the tower now, but I watched that last run, and I had to ask you, is when a driver red lights like that, does it throw the other driver off? In other words, if Melanie saw the Greek launch, do you naturally go with the other car, or do you still just focus on the light?
Well, you're still focused on the light, but what happens is you hear the other car leave, and in your mind you know you didn't see the yellow light come on, but as you hit the throttle, you'll glance over the tree, and look and see if the other driver got the red light. And then if you did, you know you got the win, so now just concentrate, get the car down the track, and hope for lane choice in the next round.
Back out on the track now. You're riding along the army of one of Tony Schumacher. He's over in the left lane, and he'll be up against Paul Romine. This is a rematch of round one back at Phoenix. That was the site of Schumacher's last win. And Schu beat Romine with a 458 to Paul's struggling 897.
And Marty, this is one of those cars that wants to contend for the championship, but where they've been stubborn their toe is round number one. You mentioned he beat Paul Romine, but he also lost to guys like Wyatt Radke, Rhonda Hartman, Don Sasenka. Good cars, but cars that, quite frankly, the U.S. Army team should be able to get by in first round. This is Tony's 125th career start, and he'd like to make it a good one by at least getting past this CarQuest car in round one.
Yeah, even Tony was mentioning that, the fact that get back those two first-round losses, Mike, he'd be right there with Kenny Bernstein.
Yeah, and he was very, very upfront about it. He said they've made some stupid mistakes, and they don't want to keep doing that. I mean, this car has shown a lot of promise this year. I mean, they've ran some big numbers. They ran consistent at times, but then other times they've gone up there and just blown the tires off right at the hit against cars that they probably shouldn't have.
3 first-round losses. Does today Paul Romine make it 4? We'll find out in just a matter of about 5 seconds. Not going to happen this time. Schumacher, 464 at 322 miles an hour to the 478 at 300 of Paul Romine. And let's take a look from the Sanyo Lightship and get an idea just how this race unfolded.
This was a great run. Paul Romine got a slight jump off the starting line, but then by 60 feet, Tony had already caught him and then just pulled away for the win there. Let's watch it on super slow-mo. You're going to see a little bit of tire shake there, but it drove right through it, gets up on the tire, nice and clean. He's right in the middle of the groove. That's where you want. Look at those tires crowning. Look at that chassis arching. That's what you want to do. 322 at the other end. Good win.
And he ran a 464. Kenny Bernstein ran a 463. That means KB will have lane choice next round. We got to take a break. It is the biggest day in auto racing, and Whit Watson is in Indianapolis, RPM tonight at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time over on ESPN2. Everything from Charlotte, Indianapolis, and of course right here in Topeka. For more, log on to ESPN.com. One of the great things about NHRA drag racing is the small budget teams competing with the multi-million-dollar operations. Today's Powerade profile focuses on one of these drivers, Scott Weis.
like I guess in any drag racing scene, it started out just family. My two brothers and I raced bracket races together. All three of us had cars at the same time. And you begin to step up and your lives change and people go off to college, and finally I was the one left holding the stick, I guess. But as we progressed, we've needed their help so much more that now they're full-time crew members. My dad is still really involved with the car. In fact, he owns it all. And everybody else has come along in the path. My clutch guy's been with us for 10 years. I've got a bottom end guy that's been with us for 5 or 6 years. I mean, it's guys that have been around the cars that we've run for quite a while. We are real conservative. As a driver inside the car, if this thing goes out and drops a hole, so many people drive to the finish line and blow it up. I can't do that. We've used a two-way radio probably more than anybody out here. I have crew guys from the starting line, one on the left, one on the right, calling drop cylinders. And I shut it off. Sunday, I'll fight it a little if I'm ahead, but in qualifying, we can't push the car to the extreme that the other teams can do. But the parts that we use are just as good as anybody else out here, but I can't abuse them. We can only make 2 or 3 qualifying shots. We can't push the car 4 times. We lose a lot of data for Sunday by not making all the qualifying attempts. I can't stay after on Monday like these other teams are. I have a real job I have to get back to. My dad and I run a little repair shop in Richmond, Virginia, and it's 6 guys there, so we leave good help behind, but I have to get back and run things. In some occasions, we have the advantage. Those high horsepower cars, the conditions change for Sunday, and their car is pretty consistent. It typically goes down the track every run. Maybe a 1/10 of a second off the class of the field, but it doesn't take much of a slip up for those guys to shake or spin the tire just a bit, and we're there. It's exciting that Race Girl could step up and make the program big enough that we've committed for 23 races. So we're real proud of Race Girl to step up and be as big a part as they are of the team.
And as you take a look at his career, you can see that Scott has competed in both Top Fuel and Funny Cars. Best qualifying number 9 at Memphis. He made it all the way to the semifinals last year at Reading, and his career best ET, a 456. And he may need it today. And can Scott Weis play Giant Killer one more time? He'll be right there in the cockpit of the Race Girl Top Fuel dragster. And you remember Scott Weis very well, don't you?
Yeah, I couldn't even beat him when his parachute fell out, and I was #1 qualifier. Tells you, maybe that's why I'm up here in the TV booth.
Well, we did get out the fact that you are still a track record holder. I couldn't let this go by. I mean, Scott in the number 16 spot again. Can he do it? Because there's Larry Dixon in the left lane. Dave Reef.
Now, Marty, as we look forward to Funny Car, the matchup everybody has got their eyes on is this man, Whit Bazemore, as he gets set to take on the 11-time champion John Force. In a battle, Whit, we kind of hate to overstate this early in the season, but we hate to understate this one, too.
Yeah, it's important. There's no question about it. But it's no different than any time we race John's team or a lot of other good teams out here, for that matter. For our Macro Tools team, we've got to just concentrate on our job. Do our job as perfectly as we can do it, and not make mistakes. Try to keep them to a minimum, and if it's in the cards for a victory today, then it's in the cards. It'll happen, and if it's not, it's not. But again, all we can do is what we do best, and let the cards fall where they do.
All eyes will be watching you. Phil Stevens.
Corey Mack, Yummy dances his way to the second round. First round hasn't been too much of a problem for you this year.
Well, I'll tell you, it's one of those things where we need to keep pace with the beer cars. It's all about the beer cars, so we want to try to make it a little bit different here this weekend. But Can's always been good to us. I'll tell you, Wes Surdy and the guys doing a great job, and this Centennial Batteries car is starting to fly.
Right in the pipeline with that 466.
Back at the starting line, this rematch from round 1 at Las Vegas. Dixon won that one. Can he make it 2 in a row over Scott Weis? Turn out the lights. 465, 318. Scott was never a factor in this one. Dixon marches on to second round. Take another look.
This is exactly what Dick LaHaye and Larry Dixon wanted. 465. I'm sure they were trying to go up their match or first qualifying path, which was a 464. There it is. I mean, it's exactly what they want to do. 264 miles an hour in the 8th. Looks like they might have had a little bit of tire spin there through the middle. Not much, though, to run 264 in the 8th mile on a hot, greasy track. Perfect run for these conditions in the first round.
Take a look at the ladder. You'll see who has lane choice. The arrow indicates it's Dixon and Bernstein, and on the right side, McClenathan and Darrell Russell. We've got to take a commercial break. When we come back, first round of Funny Cars. The Floppers take the track here at Topeka. 55-year-old Gary Dencham rocketed to his 4th career win last weekend, enabling him to sit atop the Funny Car points for the first time in his career.
Hi, I'm Gary Dencham, and I'm your current points leader.
And he certainly is by 2. And take a look at his year so far. It started off a little sluggish, but at least consistent with round 2s. And then look at the wins at Las Vegas and Englishtown. Now let's go to the far end to Bill.
Well, Marty, Team Castro, always the bunch to beat in Funny Car, but it's not John Force who's calling the tune so far this year. It's Gary Dencham, the points leader. Last week in Englishtown, he beat Bruce Sarver in that final round for his 2nd win of the year. Gary had to shoot a lights-out 492 in the last qualifying session to make the show. His first round draw, not an easy one. Cruz Pedregon, who was only 200 slower in qualifying.
And our first matchup, Tim Wilkerson in the left lane, Johnny Lawson in the right lane. Number 4 against number 13. And the win light goes to Tim Wilkerson with a 490 at 304. Lawson ran a good 499 at 296, but it's not good enough to get him into 2nd round. Take a look at the ladder now, and you'll see that Tim has already advanced. He'll face the winner of Caps and Scusa. And the arrow indicates who has the lane choice, as always. Here's the right side of the equation. There's John Force and the Witt-Bazemore matchup still to come as we get ready for our 2nd pair. And let's go to Dave Reef first.
Well, Marty, believe it or not, as we look forward to that big matchup between John Force and Witt-Bazemore, probably there's a little bit more pressure on John Force's team. They have just put together their worst trio of qualification efforts since 1984, and that dates back to when Austin Coyle was not even a part of this team. They are struggling indeed. Now, the numbers compare to a year ago. When you look forward to this Witt-Bazemore matchup, this is a team that has actually caught fire as of late. John Force is also trying to avoid one other streak, going out in the first round, 3 consecutive races since a long, long time ago.
Austin's not asleep there. He's looking at his data. It looks like he's sound asleep. Joining us in the booth is Gary Scelzi. And, of course, if you've been with us through NHRA today, you know that his teammate, Bruce Sarver, is qualified number 1. So let's put all the rumors to bed. You're not going to get into Force's car. You're not jumping the ship. I'll let you take it from there.
Okay. I know for sure that Gary Scelzi has a new Monaco coach with a new Toyota behind it that I'm pulling. I'm here to cheer on Alan Johnson and Bruce Sarver in the white cap Toyota. Brad Hadman has a new chassis just about ready to come off the jig that I'll be fitted for in the next couple of days. We're hoping for an early debut, maybe for the West Coast swing. Everything is good. Toyota's good. Alan's good. Bruce is doing a great job, and hopefully Alan's got a handle on this Toyota Silicon. All the other rumors, keep watching the internet. It's pretty exciting, I guess.
Yeah, I've been watching the internet. I just want to make sure you don't have a check from your daddy come up and try to take my job.
No, I won't try to buy my way in anywhere else, I promise.
We've got cars lit down on the racetrack. Glad you're with us up here, Gary. And you're looking at last year's race winner over in that left lane, Tony Pedregon, the number 3 qualifier, against Dale Creasy Jr. And Tony's pretty much owned Dale 5-0 in the 5 matchups. These guys have gone head-to-head.
Well, you know, Dale's been looking awfully good lately. I mean, the car's going down the racetrack. He's not running the big numbers, but he ran a 499, got down on the other run. Had some problems towards the end, but still ran a 511. The car is just progressively getting better since Jimbo Ermolova, easy for me to say, came up. And Jimbo came on board. The car's been definitely improving. So Tony Pedregon can't take him lightly.
Well, Creasy looking for his first round win since 1999 back at the finals. And he's picked a tough customer. There's John Medlin.
You know, right now, Mike, I think that left lane looks pretty promising according to the Top Fuel Dragsters anyway. The middle of the racetrack yesterday in qualifying was a little suspect in the right-hand lane. And, you know, Corey ran a 320-mile-an-hour run in the right-hand lane, but he was the only one that really looked that good over there. And the track doesn't look bad. It's just in the middle, the guys are trying to move the car too hard or something.
Well, you know, and Sarver ran that 486 in the right-hand lane in that last qualifying session. And I think conditions are fairly similar.
Yeah, I don't think the track temperature's that hot yet.
Ran a 5 flat at 302, and Dale's 5 5:17. You saw the smoke right at the end of the run. He slowed to 231 miles an hour. So Tony Pedregon, first step towards defending his event win here from last year. Oh, don't bite the lens, please. We're coming right back. There's the view from one of the best seats in the house, right above the suites on the observation deck. And there is Matt Hylas, our cameraman. There he is. Matt, your mother's having a heart failure. Don't lean forward. And that's the view from down on the starting line area. Let's go to Bill with Tony Pedregon.
Tony Pedregon went 488 in qualifying with a 5 flat. And boy, this one almost didn't have a happy ending.
Well, it was good enough to win. I'm a little confused right now because I really thought it'd run a little bit quicker. I know the conditions, they're really not, you know, they could probably hold 480s or 490s. So I'm a little surprised, but, you know, maybe that was Medlin's strategy. I do my job and he does his, and we try to be consistent. And the car held together, and if we need to step on the next round, I know we've got plenty of power there. We might have to call on them.
Felt good in the car, though.
Yeah, it really did. Felt nice and smooth, and sometimes it fools you. It makes you think you run a little quicker.
Next up, number 1 qualifier, Bruce Sarver and Del Worsham in the number 16 hole. And I got to ask you, I'm putting you on the spot here a little bit, Gary. Did you guys talk about the setup, what they're going to try and run here?
You know what? I'm sure Alan's going to try to run a high 480. Alan is definitely not bashful in the tune-up, and he's made some wholesale changes since Atlanta. And it looks like he may have a handle on this thing right now. Bruce is real comfortable. We'll see what happens.
A 493 hole shot. A 491 was quicker for Bruce Sarver, but a 483 light by Del Worsham to Bruce's 516 light, and Bruce is on the trailer.
Let's look at this on replay. Del got the advantage off the starting line, and boy, he needed it. It was close right there at the finish line. Wow, look at the difference at the stripe. Great race. Here's your old ride, Gary. Let's see what it's doing. Tell me what's happening there.
Well, it's hiking the left front, but the front end is actually staying down really good on the car right now. They've been doing a lot of changes to clutch and different things like that. It looks pretty solid and stable in the front. The rear spoiler's doing some weird things, though, still. See how that spill plates are turned in? We still got a little bit of work to do there, but the car's been consistent. It's went to the finish line 3 times, and I feel sorry for Bruce on that one. That's a tough one. A 516 isn't a bad light. 897, 60 foot, that's good. Del rolled her in probably a little bit on an 891, or 913, I'm sorry.
And the arrow indicates who was leading at that section of the track, so Sarver had the lead at half track, Dave Reef.
And Chuck, that one was huge, staving off your 3rd consecutive first-round loss with that win, especially with Rob Flynn being gone. How nice is that?
Well, you know, we wish Rob the best. Whole Traeger, Sexton, Craig and team think he was really a great guy. The chemistry was kind of gone there at the end. I know he's going to do good, but this is a great win for us, and we're still here.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Second time the number 1 qualifier has been beat in first round this year. Parker.
And take a look at the view from the top of the tower. It's fantastic. You'll have a look at all the blue and white shirts down around the start area. Those are the NHRA workers. Their responsibilities, well, they have to ensure that the right pair comes up to the start line, that the cars are started at the appropriate time, that they find their way to the start line so that starter Rick Stewart can launch them. And also, they're constantly looking and examining the track surface, making sure that it's maintained so that each and every competitor has a fair chance to get down this quarter-mile racetrack. In a few minutes, we'll check in with you at the top end, a view that the fans very rarely get to see. Gary Scelzi in the booth. What's next?
Gary's putting you on the spot. He's turning you into the play-by-play guy.
God, I'll tell you, I don't know what's next. I'm still stunned about that. You know, I've been in that position before that Bruce has been in. The car ran great. He was in thin. The reaction time thing, if you roll it in deep, your lights are going to look better. Obviously, Bruce was in thin because of the 60-foot time. It's a shame because, you know, the good news is this car's going down the racetrack now, and the front end's not all in the air and strange, so it looked pretty even there when they both hit the gas. It's just one of those unfortunate things.
It was close all the way down the track, and there's a super slow-mo shot of the launch.
See, Mike, what I'm saying, the front end looks like it's a lot stabler now than it has been in the past.
Yeah, it's a lot more stable. We've watched this car a lot of times on super slow-mo where it's, you know, it's bobbing the front end, bouncing it up through there. right when you're applying the clutch was a critical point to where you want that front end down. It looks a lot better right now.
Yeah, everything's going to be just fine. I'll go over there and put some ice on Bruce's forehead because I'm sure he's beating himself up right now.
Let's get back to this battle. First round action between Johnny Gray and that man right there, Bob Bodie. For Johnny Gray, this is his career best ever starting position in the number 2 slot with a 488. Bodie's looking for his first round win here in 2002. These guys have not met this year. That's all that Johnny Gray needed. So both Checker Shucks Cragen cars have advanced to second round of 5:06 at 3:07. Let's go back and take a look at Bob Bodie and see what happened.
We're going to see Bob Bodie get in trouble early. Watch the tires if we can see it here. I don't know if we're going to be able to tell, but you're going to probably see some tire shaking. He's going to do a good job getting out of the throttle. Watch the injector right there. Goes closed, opens back up. He gets it to recover. That's a good job. And he actually feathered it back going in. Got out of it one more time. Don't know if he needed to do that because he looked like the car had some decent momentum up to that point, but it was all for naught anyway because Johnny Gray was long gone.
Let's go to the far end to Bill.
Dell the Snake Worsham gets his 3rd whole shot win of the year against the most talked about car in the last 2 weeks. That was a work of art, sir.
No, it was. I'll tell you what, the entire team, they just pulled together, did a great job. Had some trouble qualifying. We only get 2 runs. It makes it hard, you know, on this car and on this team. And my dad made some great tunings. The crew did a great job. Nothing fell off it. Just had my wife and my babies there at home. A few more races, they'll be with me.
The red and the blue going to number 2.
And both Checker Shuck Cragen drivers celebrating round 1 victories. We've got to take commercial break. Don't go anywhere. No channel surfing allowed. You're taking a look at the 8 different winners in the first 8 races of Pro Stock competition, and the points lead is a tie now between WJ and Jim Yates. Greg Anderson became the 8th different Pro Stock driver to hoist the trophy this season. Hey, that equals the number of different winners in Top Fuel and Funny Car combined. And as you look at Warren Johnson lining up against Bruce Allen, take a look at the 2001 winners who have yet to win in 2002. And could we see 9 in a row? Absolutely. WJ in that right lane, the 98 winner. Right here at Heartland Park, Topeka, the 6-time champion.
You know, Pro Stock, I mean, they qualify within 25 thousandths of a second. So, I mean, how do you pick a winner here? But you got to go with WJ, just that experience in the win. But don't count Bruce Allen out.
Well, they've hooked up 45 times. WJ has 32 wins. Oh, you saw WJ. The car got loose. And Bruce Allen with a 692 at 198. Puts Warren on the trailer and opens the door for Jim Yates in the points championship chase.
Boy, that blimp shot was a great shot. You could see exactly what happened. We're going to look from the down line. Warren Johnson's going to go make a hard right-hand turn. He just spun the tires way too hard, got out of the groove, lost all his elapsed time right there. You see him out there in no man's land, not where he wants to be as he's pulling the gears. He's probably losing even more time once he got out of the groove, spinning the tires. Let's see from the top. You're going to see the car make a hard right-hand turn out of the groove. It's losing time right there, and you see Bruce Allen. That allowed him to get out there, and that's all you need.
Take a look at the other lane.
Let's see Bruce Allen. I mean, he leads cars. Looks like it's pretty stuck in the groove pretty well, but boy, he made a left turn, you know, so both cars made a little bit. Just Bruce Allen made a little bit less of a turn than Warren did. Got the win.
Take a look at the ladder now. You see that Allen has advanced. He gets the winner between Yates and Krischer. And the right side, there you see our next matchup will be Troy Coughlin and Greg Anderson. Let's go to Dave Reef.
And Marty, when Jim Yates just heard that Warren Johnson lost, his race face changed very, very much. He now knows he's got a shot at this points lead if he can get by his first-round opponent, Ron Krischer. But let me tell you why Jim Yates is a strong candidate to win here today. One of our non-winners in the field today. For the 2nd consecutive race in a row, this team is the #1 qualifier here today. And add to that fact, Jim's wife, Tony's celebrating a birthday. He'd like nothing more than to give her a win and the points lead here in Topeka.
Well, and while you're back in the staging lanes, Greg Anderson made a lane change, Dave. He was originally going to take the right lane, saw what happened, and has now put Troy Coughlin over in the right side. That's the advantage of being the better qualified car. Anderson number 7, Troy number 10. The win light, though, is going to go to Troy Coughlin.
Troy, you won.
Gary Pearman tells his driver.
A little bit loose in the middle. Other than that, good job.
Big hole shot, a 448 light to Greg Anderson's 529, and Anderson is usually very good on the tree.
Yes, he is, but he was dead late today. It was very interesting. I don't know if that lane change at the last minute may have thrown him off, but Troy Coughlin got the jump, and that was all he needed to get the win.
So now, brother Jeg will come to the line, the 2000 Pro Stock champion, and he'll be over in the left lane.
You know, Marty, it's interesting. All the fuel cars that had lane choice took the left lane. Warren Johnson, the first pair of Pro Stockers, he took the right lane and obviously got very, very loose at the hit of the throttle. So as soon as he dumped the clutch, and now you see everybody else in Pro Stock taking that left lane, which is obviously a wise choice.
Let's take another look at that last run.
Boy, Troy just got a huge jump there, and I don't know what threw Greg Anderson off. He's normally very, very good on the lights. Like I said, the only thing I could speculate is maybe that lane choice at the lane change at the last minute might have just had his head thinking about something else. You never know.
Two 100s in the bank for Jeg off the starting line, and at the stripe, the win light. Another hole shot. The Coughlin brothers have done it 2 in a row.
Good job. You had a 92. He had a 91. Great job.
That's his 3rd hole shot win this year.
Jeg is as good as there is on the lights, but George Marnell, you know, he was cutting them lights big time at the beginning of the year. Jeg just got the jump early. Marnell tried to get squeaked by on the other and had a little bit of more of a charge there towards the finish line, but it wasn't enough to catch Jeg.
There is the margin right at the stripe, just that close. Go on board one more time.
You see Jeg just pull out there right at the initial launch. That was the difference in the reaction time. George Marnell right there starts to pull up alongside, just didn't have enough racetrack.
Let's go to the far end. Bill's with Troy Coughlin.
Yeah, one half of the hole shot, brothers. Greg was late, you weren't. Your 92 beats his 89.
It's about time this thing starts turning around. I'll tell you, my dad and Gary Pearman, all the guys on Team Jeg have done a good job getting these cars running a little bit better, and we're competitive, and hopefully we're back.
Let's scoot right over here real quick to Jeg Coughlin. Both Coughlin brothers win first round on hole shots. Is the magic back?
Well, that's not the way we had the script written for today thus far, but certainly we're not going to complain. Troy and I have been real comfortable behind the wheel. The power is coming around for the Jegs team, and that makes us feel better. And we got to run under our belt today under the sun conditions, and we're going to tune them up and be a threat.
Same side of the ladder. If they win the next round, they'd meet in the semis.
And back at the starting line, Alan Johnson, one of our 8 different winners this year, is going to square off against Richie Stevens. Almost dead even off the line. And the win light goes to Richie Stevens, a 690. In fact, they are identical, 6.907s. So it was the 4/1000th at the starting line that was the difference in this race.
You're exactly right, Marty. That was the difference. 4/1000ths of a second at the finish line. Identical 690s. Look how close that is.
Well, we shouldn't be surprised. This has been the quickest Pro Stock field. I mean, they all qualify within 25/1000ths of a second of each other. No, we've had our fair share of eruptions this week. Probably no more violent than this one last week involving Dean Scusa and the Mopar Dodge. And the explosions are the subject of today's Suzuki Track Fact. Track Fact is brought to you by Suzuki Motorcycles.
Teams are always looking for a competitive edge on the racetrack, pushing their equipment to the limit. And in doing so, Bill, oftentimes things go wrong.
Yeah, they push that envelope to a point where sometimes the envelope explodes. And when that happens, luckily, there are several pieces of safety equipment on a nitro engine helps minimize the damage. And you're looking at one of those pieces right now as Andrew Cowan's New York Yankees top fuel team gets ready for their next run. That's a ballistic blanket. Several companies make it, made out of Kevlar, the same stuff they make bulletproof vests out of. And the comparison is apt. When that supercharger explodes, it's like a mortar shell. Pieces of shrapnel can get blown in every direction. That blanket keeps those pieces in. Secondly, there are straps that tie to the cylinder head. If the supercharger wants to go vertical, the blanket helps keep it on top of the engine. And in the last 3 races, Parker, these guys have had some experience with that happening.
What other devices do they use on the engine to try to keep the parts contained?
Well, underneath the engine, there's something called a ballistic diaper. I love that, diaper. However, this diaper doesn't keep bodily fluids in, keeps engine fluids in, and also parts and pieces if the lower end has a catastrophic failure. The other piece, well, that's just a simple cover that goes over the valve cover and keeps the spark plugs from getting spit out in case there's an engine failure. Also, pieces of the drivetrain and valve train.
Now, the teams refer to these engines as their 6,000 horsepower babies, and why not? They have a diaper, and they also have a security blanket.
Thanks, guys. We've got to head to commercial break. Second round of Top Fuel is coming your way from Topeka when we come back. Don't go anywhere. Time now for second round Top Fuel here at Topeka, and the arrow indicates who has the lane choice here at the O'Reilly Summer Nationals. Dixon over Coletta, Bernstein over Schumacher, and then on the right side, Corey Mack over Rhonda Hartman. And our first pair up will be Darrell Russell with the lane choice over Melanie Troxel, and Darrell has taken the left lane.
No big surprise there. All the fuel cars took the left lane in that first round. I can't see any reason why you would want to change that if you have lane choice. Melanie Troxel here, this car's ran very well. I mean, it's ran in the 470s, but they seem to be stuck in the 470s, and I think they're going to have to run a little bit better if they want to get around Darrell Russell this round.
Yeah, Melanie looking to go to her first semifinal here in 2002, and of course, Darrell made it all the way to the finals back at Bristol.
Wayne Dupuis has done a great job with this car. He's come in under tough circumstances to be able to come in here in the middle of the season. Anytime you have to do that, it's not easy, but he's rose to the occasion very well. Darrell Russell's been driving well. He's had a lot of confidence. Seems to be getting some good lights off the starting line. The car doesn't smoke the tires, but for them to run probably they're going to try to run like another 468 like they did first round. And with these kind of conditions, I think that would be a good pass.
Darrell has already pre-staged. Melanie still yet to pull in. There she goes. Darrell Russell runs a 470 at 305 miles an hour. Melanie fell off her pace from last round, a 483 at 290, and she had 7 100s off the starting line. She got a good jump.
Yeah, great 428 light. She was in a little bit deep. Darrell Russell, not bad, 490. Right down the track, that's exactly what I'm sure that whole team was trying to do.
Take a look at the incrementals, and you can see the arrow indicates who's leading at that section of the track. It's at 60 foot, it was Melanie, but at the finish line where it counts, Darrell Russell. Now, let's go back a few moments ago. Remember, Darrell Alderman had a problem down on the starting line in Pro Stock? Well, we figured out what's going on, didn't we, Dave?
And we thought possibly there was some debris that came out from the bottom of the car after that little incident that caused Darrell to red light, but that wasn't the case at all, just a Zeus fastener from another car. But after talking with David Nickens, I understand the problem a little bit more now. And looking inside the cockpit, this is the clutch, the brake, and the gas pedal that Darrell Alderman uses. And what happens is when he depresses this clutch, it ends up tripping this limiter, and it's a low side limiter. So when they put the car in stage, it keeps the car at a specified RPM, despite the fact that he's got his foot all the way into this gas pedal. Well, what happens is his foot slipped off of this clutch. It ended up coming up onto the high side and pretty much overloaded this car. The front brakes only have about 300 pounds of pressure, so there was no way that they were going to be able to hold that car back, and resulted in a red light. Parker?
Well, Dave, 75 minutes isn't a lot of time to turn these cars around. I mean, just imagine trying to get that service at any local dealership. Johnny Gray's team thought they had everything done. As they were rolling the car out, though, one of the crewmen caught just out of his peripheral vision something that he thought might be amiss with the tire. Have a look at the Goodyear rear tire. They had picked up some debris on that last run, cutting the sidewall. Boy, quick thinking on that crewman's part. They got the car back in, got the bodywork off, and changed that tire. Bill?
Well, seems like we've been here in this place before, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. This is great. This whole team's doing a great job. We're a little behind on the service of the car, but the Valvoline Keystone car is going to be ready to go here real soon. It's it's getting really tricky out there with the weather conditions, but we're going to be fine. I just really feel like it. Hopefully we'll get lane choice. We'll find out.
They've been to one final round so far this year. How big would it be for them to do it again this weekend?
And they'll match up against either Corey McClenathan or Rhonda Hartman-Smith. There's Rhonda. Well, she performed in round number 1. They've met 9 times in their career. Corey's won 8 of the matchups between these two.
Yeah, but you can't count Rhonda out. Like I said before, that car has looked very good here of late. Especially they've got a better handle in the hotter conditions. It's still going to be very tough. I mean, Corey McClenathan and that team, Wes Cerny as a crew chief, has done a tremendous job at this race. I mean, this car is just like, it's on a string. It's like a bracket car. And boy, those are the kind of cars you just love to drive on race day.
And it's going to be interesting, Marty, to watch how the pressures shift during this round, because this is exactly what people like Corey McClenathan wanted, a chance to go up against the car he probably should beat, make his way to the semifinals. Well, on the other side of the ladder, it's Tony Schumacher and KB. It's Doug Kalitta and Larry Dixon, and that's a chance for Doug Kalitta, for Tony Schumacher to also make a statement, get back in this championship race. A lot of pressure in this round.
Well, especially if you go back and think about, on Corey's side, that one loss that he had to Rhonda was first round this year at Phoenix. You better believe he is thinking about it. Puts her away with a 468. He's been living in the 60s all weekend. 313 miles an hour. Rhonda fell off the pace to a 540 at 175.
Boy, Corey's cars look very, very good all weekend. It looks like he might have went over towards the wall a little bit. I couldn't tell, and it got a little bit of tire spin out there through the middle. Put a cylinder out right at the other end, but still 468. That's what you want to do in the heat of the day. He knew if he could just do that and get a decent light, which he did, he was probably going to get the win.
Let's go to Parker.
Well, Marty, on race day, personnel and equipment are stressed to the max. And look at this tire on the back of Dean Scusa's car. 300 miles an hour, they suffered a cord separation. But this Goodyear kept it licking and kept on ticking. Got him the round win and got him to the next round. I tell you, these guys, we've talked all year about tires. Goodyear built a great tire because this tire held together even over 300 miles an hour.
Thanks, Parker. We've got to take a commercial break, and this was the tire change that Parker was describing on Johnny Gray's team just as they caught it before they head for the line. Along with Mike Dunn, Bill Stevens, Dave Reed, and Parker Johnstone, I'm Marty Reed. We're so glad you're with us here at the O'Reilly Summer Nationals. That's Dean Scusa closest to you, and over in the left-hand lane is Tim Wilkerson. And as they get ready for second round action here in Funny Car, let's take a look at the ladder. The arrow indicates lane choice. It'll be Worsham over Densham, Wilkerson over Scusa, and then John Force over Johnny Gray, and Frank over Tony Pedregon.
Marty, Dean Scusa has looked good in the last couple races in qualifying. Had that problem first round in Englishtown with the body coming off, but when they were just way too over center, and they even said that they were just over center. By that they meant they were just had way too much hop up on the engine, trying to make too much power for the track conditions. They seem to have kind of gone the other way. They said, let's get on the other side of it here. Let's get this car down the racetrack, not worry about running the big numbers, and see if we can get our consistency back. Tim Wilkerson, on the other hand, we know what he can do. He can run the big numbers, but he can also smoke the tires quite a bit. So this is one of those you pick them.
Guys are up underneath the back of the car. Let's take a look at Tim's time here. His 6th race. You can see he's made the semifinals 3 times, and he's trying to do it for the 4th year. And for Dean Scusa, well, he's trying to make it to the semi since the finals last year. The last time he made it. 309 miles an hour, just powers right around Dean Scusa's 504 at 296.
You know, this was a pretty good race. Dean Scusa got a slight jump off the starting line, was pretty much side by side to about 400 feet, and then from there on, Tim Wilkerson's horsepower just took away and ran away with the win. Let's watch Dean on this run. I don't think he had any tire shake early. It looks nice and smooth through that transition. Just wasn't aggressive through the middle of the course where he needed it. And Tim Wilkerson, oh, there you see a cylinder go out on the right-hand side. That's why the car was down on power. Actually pushed it over towards the wall and probably cost him the race. Well, didn't probably. I'm sure it did, because they were side by side. Right there, you saw the cylinder go out. As soon as that cylinder went out, lost power compared to Wilkerson, and Wilkerson pulled away for the win.
Take a look at the incrementals. The arrow indicates who's leading at that section of the track, so you can see right at half track, right about where you were talking about. That's where it all started to fall apart for Dean, and you can see in the slow-mo, he heads towards the wall after losing that cylinder. Let's go to the far end, Bill.
According to my records, 4th semifinal round of the year coming up there, Mr. Wilkerson. Can you finally finish one of these off?
I don't know. You know, my old buddy Mike Dunn was saying, boy, if Wilk don't smoke the tires, he'll win. I watched that last weekend after I smoked the tires, and I think he jinxed me. So he's going to be out of the booth and back driving again if he does that crap one more time. That's all I got to say about that. So
bad news is he may be in a funny car.
Hey, you know what? Bring him on. It's not easy out here, but you know what? I'm sure happy to be here, and he's doing a great job too. So, hey, we're going to the next round, right? Having fun.
Well, fun, that's the word with those guys.
You want to get in on this?
Yeah, come on in. The water's fine. That funny car's tough.
Well, you know, his only alcohol funny car win came at this very track, so maybe today's the day for Tim Wilkerson. Next up, well, will it be Del Worsham or Gary Dencham, the current points leader? Dencham will be over in the right lane. There he is in the AAA Southern California Mustang.
Dell's got lane choice on this run. He took the left lane like all the fuel cars have. But, you know, Gary Dencham, Jimmy Prock, what can you say? I mean, that car runs some big speed. Track's hot. We've seen a lot of cars that can't get aggressive through the middle and run that big speed. And that's where Jimmy Prock and Gary Dencham make a lot of their elapsed time. Is they're never really real aggressive down early. They run good numbers, but not great. But then they pour it on. They're not going to be able to do that on this racetrack, I don't think. And Del Worsham, on the other hand, I think he's probably just going to try. Let's repeat that 493 like we did first round, see what happens.
Well, Dencham beat Del back at the semifinals in Las Vegas, went on to win that race. In fact, that's the last time Del has seen the semifinals. Red, Del throws it away. Dencham runs through at a 498 at 310 miles an hour. Del cut a 388 light. The problem is perfect is 4-0-0. So the points leader keeps adding to the margin as John Force is now going to have to try and keep pace with his teammates. Stay with us. Things get a little hot when you're drag racing. Probably happy that where you're at too. Hope you're having a good time with us. We're having a great time bringing you round 9 of the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series. Down on the starting line, next pair coming to the line, Johnny Gray and John Force.
Gary Dencham, Del Worsham just fouled out against you. People are really beginning to take notice, man. They feel they got to hit the tree if they're going to get around you.
Yeah, well, Dale is so good on the tree, and I saw him out there. I thought I lost the race. I'm coming down here crying, kicking the dash, and just, you know, feeling so sorry for my guys after doing such a great job. And, you know, Worsham is such a great team over there, and I tell you, I'm so happy for the Auto Club and Castrol and Team Force that, I don't have to go down here and draw out the old 38 and put it to the head. Thanks a lot, guys.
Remember, Del won the first round on a hole shot.
Back to the business at hand, the man who has won 100 victories. Take a look at the comparisons from last year to this year. He was at first place in the points by 73, and the big difference, Mike, is the first round losses. He has had 3 of them. And the other thing that we've noticed is last year a lot of guys, well, John wasn't on his game, and they were giving him rounds. This year they're not.
Yeah, the competition has definitely closed the gap this year, but John Force looks like, even though he's been struggling the last few races, he looks like he's back on track with that great 487 in the first round. Johnny Gray qualified the 488, but he's going to have his work cut out if he wants to get around John's course.
He has never beaten John in 7 head-to-head matchups. Make that 8. A 490 at 318. The boss keeps pace with the points leader, Gary Dench, of a 508 at 304. Puts Johnny Gray on the trailer.
This is just another great run in the heat of the day. This is what you want to do. Both cars left the line at the same time. Pretty much dead even in reaction time. Watch John from down track. See if this thing bobbles a little bit or puts any cylinders out down track. See a little move there, right? Probably about 300 feet. He gets her straightened out. It's still sashaying a little bit, so he might be getting a little bit of tire spin, but still 490. That's a great pass.
Take one more look at super slow-mo at the Castrol GTX Mustang.
You see the car move around there a little bit. I didn't see any tire shake. It's kind of hard to tell from that position, but it definitely did move around a little bit right at that transition.
So one more pair of funny car here in the second round, and it will be a Pedregon advancing. Will it be Tony? He won this event last year, or will it be brother Frank over in the left lane in the K&N Filters Firebird? Frank just finally starting to make his way towards the burnout. These two have met one time this year. Frankie won that one. Back at round 2 in Atlanta, he ran a 499 to Tony's 506.
Could happen here again. Both cars ran 5 flat in the first round. You know, it's a comparable matchup. Obviously, Tony Pedregon and his crew chief John Medlin, they can run the big numbers. You know, Jim Dunn and Frank Pedregon, they're just mainly, let's go out there and they just kill you with consistency, and that's probably what they're going to try to do this run.
Let's go to the far end, Bill.
John, we have talked about how great this racetrack has been to you, and this weekend is happening again, it appears.
I'm sorry, they just gave me some Powerade. What'd you think?
I'll wait for a second.
It's a drink I really needed, actually.
You've done well here.
Topeka's been good to us. You come here, O'Reilly sponsors this race. Good for us with Castrol. All Pro Bumper Auto Value. Those are my guys, and we want to perform. We've been off track with Austin, getting back on track. It's really unique to watch our 3 teams. Jimmy was in trouble making the call, and guys are running over there. Does he need any help? You don't have to tell them. They just really work as one, and I think that's the, I think in anything to win, that's what it takes, working together as a team. I didn't write that, Vince Lombardi said that.
You're so eloquent.
Well, you can let him know that his other driver, Tony, just won with a 505 pole shot.
Gets better every round.
He tattoos Frankie off the starting line, a 483 light to a 545 for Frank.
Boy, this is all Tony Pedregon. He earned his paycheck here. Got the jump off the starting line, pulling away. We're going to see something happen right at the finish line. He had a cylinder out. I wonder if it just lost a belt right before the finish line. And Frank Pedregon almost got by him. You see the cylinders out right over there. Starts to go away. The motor just quit before the finish line. Just wasn't quite enough track for Frank to drive around and get the win.
Take a look, and Tony had him all the way. The reaction time's the biggie right there. I mean, that is huge when you give up that much at the starting line. And he was closing at the finish, but as you said, Mike, Frank ran out of racetrack. Let's go back and take a look in super slow-mo. And as we do that, we'll show you the matchups for the semifinals. It'll be Tim Wilkerson with the lane choice over the points leader, and it'll have John with the lane choice over Tony Pedregon. So we've got to take a commercial break. Back in the pits, Darrell Russell packing that all-important parachute. You don't think it's important? Try and talk to Kenny Bernstein. The only thing that's slow and steady about our race today is the Sanyo Lightship overhead. Our overhead pictures brought to us courtesy of Sanyo and the Sanyo Lightship team. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Now, let's get a little preview of what we can expect to see in the semifinals. First up, Bill Stevens.
Well, down here in Jeg's pit, they're working twice as hard as they normally do. Why? Well, because for the first time this year, both Jeg's cars are going to the semifinals. Work fascinates me. I can watch it for hours. They're thrashing on these cars, and just a moment ago, I asked Jag, well, are we going to do a little fiddling here on the outcome of this race? He said, I like you, Bill. but I ain't going there. We're racing heads up, straight up. That's the way it's always been. That's the way it will always be. And you know what? I believe him. Jeggy has more to gain in this one than Troy does. Jeg was 123 points behind Warren Johnson coming into this race. Warren lost in the first round, so he could take a big chunk out of that lead with a win over his brother Troy. But as we like to say, brotherly love stops when the stage lights go on. Dave Reef?
Well, Bill, the word in the Force camp is Tony Pedregon. Sean Force is on the up and up. And let me show you what one of the pieces that takes the most damage in a fuel car. These are the spark plugs that have just come out of the car. In a perfect world, this is what you want the spark plug to look like at the end of a run. In a bad position, like what Tony Pedregon has dealt with today, drop cylinders, this is bad. When you drop a cylinder, it causes all of these other ones to work even harder, and that's when you start burning the centers out of these. Crew chiefs don't tell you everything, but John Medlin and Dickie Venables did tell me one of the ways they're trying to combat this problem. They say they've got a racetrack out there where they have to slip the clutch. And when you slip the clutch, you have to change the load on the motor. And how they're doing that is they're trying to take away fuel from them there by changing the nozzles inside of these fuel lines in the cylinder head. After all, they feel that they're probably going to need all 8 when they get ready to race that resurging John Force, Parker.
Dave, in a contest too close to call in Top Fuel, it's Corey McClenathan versus Darrell Russell. Crew chiefs, Wes Sterney versus Wayne Dupuis. If you look at the stats, Corey's won 13 rounds with 8 losses. Darrell Russell, he's won 4 with 8 losses. So clearly the stats favor Corey Mack. However, this is the small team that can. Darrell Russell's camp, it's the one that's gone through massive reconstruction surgery this year. That's why we race. It should be a very, very close contest. Both teams know who they're up against, and they know that if they don't step up, they won't be going to the next round.
And guess what's coming up next? The Top Fuel semifinals. We'll find out who's going to advance. Darrell Russell's team already heading for the lane. Stay with us. Back at the O'Reilly Summer Nationals, round 9 of the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series, and it's time for the semifinals in Top Fuel. Darrell Russell squares off against Corey McClenathan. And it will be Darrell in the right-hand lane, Corey Mack over in the left lane. Russell lost to Corey in their only matchup at Atlanta back at round number 1 this year. Each is looking for his second final of 2002. Russell has been to the finals 8 times, Corey 39.
You know, Marty, this is a great matchup. Your number 2 and number 3 qualifiers, as it should be in the semifinals. Darrell Russell's been about 0.02 of a second behind on both runs. A 466 and a 468 for Corey, a 468 and a 470 for Darrell Russell. This should be a great matchup.
Bill?
And Mike, you know, Darrell Russell's been slow to admit that the team is finally on track. This is his real first big test today. You know, he beat Melanie Troxel earlier and Andrew Cowan, but now he's against Corey Mack, one of the better cars out here. This will really be an indication whether or not Wayne Dupuis got a handle on things.
Wins by lane the left, 11-1. Darrell, big advantage off the line. At the stripe, the win light. Darrell Russell gets the right lane in second win. A whole shot. Look at Joe Amato. 476 to the quicker, but losing 471. This is going to hurt Corey in the points. Dave Reeve.
And how about that driver of yours, that 470 tuner?
Yeah, we had to be careful in that lane over there, and you know, he's a good driver. He has 460 lights all the time, and hey, what can I say about the crew? Bill Steen Auto Flush and Keystone Automotive, Matco Tools, Valvoline, Joe Amato Racing.
These guys are starting to work like a team.
That's his first whole shot win in Top Fuel Racing, and he had a bunch off the starting line, 6 100s.
A 433 light, and he wasn't in deep. That was just either a very good guess or he was just amped up and ready for the light. You're going to see the numbers to half track. They run about the same elapsed time to half track. The only problem was Darrell Russell was 10 mile an hour slower at that point, which was a difference in elapsed time. It's 476 to Corey's 471.
Take a look at the incrementals. The arrow indicates who was leading at that point on the track, and they're all on Darrell Russell's side. Let's go to the far end to Bill.
Darrell Russell has had some whole shot victories in alcohol dragsters, but that was your first one in Top Fuel, Darrell, against a car that you're going to be seeing a lot of this year.
Wow, that's pretty exciting. I knew it was going to take a good leave off the tree there because Corey's been running good all weekend, but man, that's outstanding. I can't believe it. This is so cool for all this to happen like this. And another final round, I mean, this is great. For Bill Steen Engine Flush, Matco Tools, American Racing Wheels, and
Valvoline, man, we're just happy. We can't say enough. This is outstanding. Cool.
Another dark horse heading to a final round.
His 9th of his career, second this year. And can Tony Schumacher go to the final again at the expense of Larry Dixon? Remember, it was Tony who beat Larry and claimed his one and only victory of 2002. And there is the Miller Lite Top Fueler. You saw Don Prudhomme off in the distance. There is the concentration in the eyes of the Army of One.
Tony Schumacher, he's going to have to be ready because obviously Larry Dixon, what can you say that we haven't already said about him? That car is just unbelievable. But Tony Schumacher, former champion, 1999, he knows how to win. He knows he's got to concentrate. He knows he's got to do his job, and hopefully the car will be there for him and he can get the win.
We're on board with Tony. Now, remember we showed you the 2 and 14 combination? Well, right now against Dixon and Bertenstein, it has crept up a little bit. Tony Schumacher going up against Kenny last round and picking up the win there. And now he's got a chance to jump up one more if he can park the Miller Lite car.
Boy, and that would be huge because Larry Dixon and Dick LaHaye, you know, Dick LaHaye, he just likes to go out there and get that car from A to B. He's not going to go in, you know, for low ET, obviously, in these kind of conditions. We got track temperatures about 118 degrees, similar to what we saw yesterday when he ran that 458. The conditions are almost identical, a little bit more temperature, air temperature, but the track temperature is about the same. But I can't even imagine Dick LaHaye going out there and trying to run a 458 on this run. He's going to go out there and try to run between a 62 and a 65. And if Tony Schumacher can beat that, he'll probably be the first one to shake his hand.
Well, if Schu does beat Dixon, it'd be the first final this year that either Dixon or Bernstein hasn't been there. So that shows you the kind of dominance the two beer wagons have had. Dick LaHaye always gives 2 taps on the roll cage and says, "Go get him, kid." Time, the 465, 318. Larry Dixon says this will not be a repeat of Phoenix, Dave Reef.
Dick LaHaye, believe it or not, that's the 11th time you make your way to a final round, both as a driver and a crew chief at this place. Boy, you own the deed, I think.
Well, it's scary, isn't it? I mean, wow. I'm just so thrilled that we're in another final here. And the car just seems to be working flawlessly, and Larry's driving like a champion that he is.
You always tell us it's tough, but how tough has today been, really?
It's really tough. I mean, it's, you know, you want to run better than what the numbers say, but you got to control yourself.
Amazingly, though, these guys make it look so easy.
Well, it's his 8th final in 9 races, and that would make anybody make it look easy, but it's not. Trust us. It's his 41st career final, and he'll have the lane choice over Darrell Russell. And we've got to take a commercial break. Stay with us when we come back. Semifinals in Funny Cars. We ride along with Tony. Time for the semifinals in Funny Car, and Team Force is guaranteed of making its 9th consecutive final. That's right. One of those cars from a 3-car team has been in every single final this year, and Gary Densham will be up alongside of Tim Wilkerson in our first matchup. But first, let's go to the far end.
Scott Weis, Doug Glitta, Tony Schumacher. Larry, it has not been getting any easier all day long, and the car just keeps winning.
No, that's that's Miller Lite team. You know, the guys really got their act together. We're in this zone right now, and we're just enjoying it while it's going on. You know, it's just it was a tough round. You couldn't take them lightly. You know, we're trying to run low 60s. You know, right now I got to wait around. We got a 1/10 of a second on Darrell Russell, but that might not be enough the way he's leaving right now. So we'll just go up there and give it our best shot.
Darrell Russell is getting everyone's attention.
Right now, our attention focuses on Tim Wilkerson and Gary Densham. Densham, of course, looking to go to his 4th final of 2002. Of course, he's coming off the race win just last week. Well, Tim Wilkerson gets past in the final. 496, 305, and he has opened the door for John Force to retake the points lead, Dave Reeve.
And for Kevin Christensen, this entire Sioux City Kenworth team, finally that breakthrough race. We're getting to the final.
Levi Ray and Shoop, Sioux City Kenworth. We've worked so hard for this. It couldn't get any better than this.
And what does it mean to be right here in Topeka and do it too?
Right at our home track here for the Sioux City people. We got a lot of fans here from Sioux City and Levi Ray and Shoot. It couldn't get any better than this.
His last final, Columbus of 1999.
Tim Wilkerson, boy, they're just going down the racetrack, something they haven't been able to do on race day. They're not running the big numbers like they normally do. They're stuck right in there in that mid-490 range, which is a perfect combination in the heat of the day, especially in conditions like this.
You can see the heat waves coming up off the track from our 86-to-1 lens at the far end. Take one more look at Gary Densham, and you can see he just didn't have enough to get it down the racetrack.
You see Gary Densham put a cylinder out right there, and that's what cost him the race. That's right when Tim Wilkerson pulled away.
So now it'll be Tony Pedregon squaring off against the boss, John Force. And as we pointed out, if Force can win this round, he can jump back into the points lead, with Densham getting punched down here in the semifinals. But Tony Pedregon won this race last year. And I think he'd like to do it again, Mike.
I assure you he'd like to do it again, but he's got to get past that man right there.
Actually, this is a repeat of last year's final between these two. It was won by Tony. It's the 45th matchup for Tony and John, and John's won 35 of them. Let's go to the far end, Bill.
And we're in the little box on the screen, just like the Brady Bunch. Take a look at Tim Wilkerson as he's going to the final round, as he and Fred Mandolini and all those other Danger Rangers are going to the payoff round, Tim.
Hey, that's pretty cool, isn't it? Only car out there not sponsored by John Force. I'm going to have to get me a John Force Racing sticker. I feel like I'm the Lone Ranger out here, but hey, I'm so happy for my guys and Levi Ray and Shoup. And, you know, I don't know what I'm even doing here. I'm so happy. I think I don't really care what goes on the next round, but we're just going to go one round at a time, and we're having so much fun. You hear Gary? Man, we're having fun, aren't we, Wilk? So, you know, golly, I don't know what to say. Thanks, guys.
Be another underdog's day today.
And I guarantee you, 5 minutes after he gets back to the pits, he'll start caring about what happens in that final round. John Force looking to go to his 158th career final. Tony to his 34th. There's Austin.
Force has been looking tough. 487 or 490. He's back on track. See if he can do it one more time.
Tony Pedregon with a hole shot parks the boss. A 487 for John, a 492 for Tony, but it was at the starting line. Tony gets a 495 like John, a 567.
Yeah, John went in real shallow, but still should have had a better light than a 560. Tony Pedregon, on the other hand, he was on his game like he's been all day. Got the whole shot and got the win.
Let's go to Dave.
As I said earlier, between rounds, this team fighting that hole dropping down track. Looked like that one was clean all the way 1,320 feet.
Yeah, that one was better. You know, we knew we were going to have to run good racing John, and just hats off to Tony. He did an excellent job there.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
You know what? We just got pointed out. The 487 that Force ran, low ET of eliminations, and he loses. There's the matchup for the final. It'll be the lane choice to Tony Pedregon with his 492 by 4/100ths of a second. First semifinal in Pro Stock. It's the battle of the Coughlin clan. Troy against brother Jeg. Jeg looking to go to his 35th final. Troy to his 10th. And the last time these two guys met, it was at the semifinals back at Maple Grove. Troy beat Jeg on the way his only Pro Stock victory.
You know, and Jeg Coughlin had lane choice, and he chose that right lane where we saw a lot of problems in the first round. Obviously, this is the semifinals. Track conditions change. They must have seen something that they like in that right-hand lane, and they took it, and we're going to find out whether it was the right choice or not.
Jeg has 2 hole shot wins today. Troy has 1. There's been a total of 7 in 12 races. the jump this time. Troy's out on him. You saw Jaggy looking over. 691, and Troy's going to the final. Nobody really talking on Jeg's radio like they normally do. Let's take another look.
Boy, this was all Troy Coughlin. Had a 443 light, had a 100th off the tree, 101 to 104, so he had 400s in the first 60 feet, and that's all he needed to beat his brother Jag. On board here, let's see him hit those gear shifts. We see Troy over there just start pulling away, and it's wave goodbye.
And let's go to Dave Reef.
Oh, to be a father divided on that one. Wow.
Oh, I tell you what, that was a great run. It was fun to see both of my sons do that. And it looks to me like they're going to be in the final.
I think one of them's definitely there.
Yeah, that's for sure. And I think Troy just made an excellent pass. And we're excited for him. We're excited for Jaggy. We're excited for everybody.
From the noisy end to the quiet end.
Last year at this race, Tony Pedregon and John Forrest squared off in the final round. Tony won it just a few moments ago in a hole shot. You beat the Borses' low ET of the weekend.
Well, the only way I can get in trouble is if we don't pull this thing off. But I think it shows a lot about the team, about Castrol, and team racing and motorsports in general. And, hey, that's what drag racing's all about. All out racing side by side, and it's good stuff.
You get all three cars right at the top of the points, John.
That's what we wanted, 1, 2, and 3, but I really wanted to pass Dincham. And I was on the radio yelling at Tony because I saw Wilkerson run that 96, and lane choice is critical in this race. And the only thing I said to Tony was, let's bump him in and let's try to get that ET and get that lane choice. And then I thought, God, what if I screwed him up? I screwed me up, and he whole shot at me. But that's why we hire these young kids.
You hear his beef is with Dincham, not me.
Exactly.
All right, let's get to Mark Wisnett and Jim Yates. Yates in the right lane. And it's going to be Wisnett. 694 to a 695, and Wisnett's going to his first final. The former Pro Stock truck racer is going to the finals against Troy Coughlin. His first one ever in his Pro Stock career, and the lane choice will be with Troy Coughlin as Pro Stock is looking mean. Stay with us. Time to decide the finals in all three of our professional categories. Will it be Mark Wisnett or Troy Coughlin in Pro Stock? What about Tim Wilkerson or Tony Pedregon in Funny Car? Or in Top Fuel, will it be Darrell Russell or Larry Dixon? Showtime in Pro Stock, the factory hot rods. Troy Coughlin will be over in the left lane, and it'll be Mark Wisnett in the right. Wisnett looking to become the 49th different winner in 465 Pro Stock races. Doesn't seem possible we've had that many in the history of the sport. Troy looking for his second win. Of course, Wisnett is first. And with more on Troy, Bill?
Well, Marty, we know that the Jegs team has been rebuilding ever since Richard Maskin left the team late last year. And one of the things they did to begin this year was give Troy his own operation. For the first time in his pro career this year, he has his own transporter, his own crew chief. Gary Pearman moved over from Jegs team, his brother, last year to his team this year. And this is really a meaningful run for Troy right now. He always seems to be racing in the shadow of his brother. This would be big.
Wisnett, 2 100s advantage off the start. At the stripe. The win to Troy.
92, 198, buddy. We won her. Good job.
Hey, this car is running great these last couple runs, guys. Hell of a job. Good job, guys.
There's Gary Pearman on the left and Jeck Sr. on the right, Dave Reef.
And Jeck Jr. right in front of me, already on the cell phone, telling everybody back home in Columbus it's good news.
It sure is good news. That's Troy Jr. On the other end. I'm a little emotional, as you can tell, because he's fired up. And just a great effort for the entire team. You know, the struggles we've been through this year and last 6-8 months. We're here to stay. And Nick Ferry, Angela Vigil, the entire Jegs team, this one's for you guys. And everybody back in Columbus, Ohio. Thank you.
Our 9th different Pro Stock winner to begin the season. Another NHRA Powerade record.
You know, Mark Wisnett's got the jump on the start line, 420 to 440 light, but at 60 feet, Troy was already right next to him and then just pulled away from there. Super slow motion. We talked about that left lane. That left lane seemed to be better for the Pro Stockers early in the run, and this run didn't prove to be any different. It seemed like Mark got a little bit too much tire spin through low gear. Troy didn't. That was enough to get the win.
Let's go to Bill.
For the first time since Maple Grove last year, Troy Coughlin is holding a national event trophy. And Troy, you're the 9th different winner this year. A lot of people would have bet it might have been your brother who did it first. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I tell you, this is really cool. This is what it's all about right here. This right here, and all of everybody back at Jake's mail order, and we couldn't be more thrilled. I tell you, to win this race here and having 2 different atmospheres to race in and so forth between qualifying and here, and come here and get one of these things, that's a strong statement. Thanks.
History once again.
Seems like every time we turn around that division, we're turning the page of history. So as the congratulations continue at the top end, we get ready for Funny Car. Can Tony Pedregon win back-to-back? He won here last year in Funny Car. He'll be over in the left lane looking for his 15th career win. It would tie him with Al Hoffman for 7th on the all-time list if he can get it. For Tim Wilkerson, he has 1 victory in his career. That was Joliet in 1999 over Tony's boss, John Force.
But you know, Tim's been a win looking for a place to happen all year long, and he hasn't never looked better here. He seems to kind of given up on the big numbers. He was always running the big numbers and then spinning the tires, but very consistent all day long. He lost lane choice in the semifinal match, but he looked good. He's had better numbers than Tony the first 2 rounds, so this is one of those pick 'em races.
Tony definitely moves into 3rd place in the points, but will it be by 77 back or 97 back? Make that 77. The win. 491 at 320 miles an hour. Look at that speed. And the crowd happy for Tony, and so is the crew, as he wins career win number 15 and successfully defends, Dave Reef.
John Medlin getting congratulations from everybody. Jimmy Prock, John about to run up behind you too. Wow, what a day for you guys.
What a great day for us. I got to hand it to our driver. He pulled it out for us a couple of rounds. We're fortunate enough to run a good ET there this round. We're just thrilled to death. Couldn't be any happier.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
John Force, 3 of your cars, all of your cars in the semifinals, another victory. Boy, if you don't do it, somebody else gets it done.
Well, that's what Castrol, Ford, Syntec, and AAA Southern California, they pay us to do. I understand we're 1, 2, and 3 in the points, and very proud of Tony, very proud of John Mellon, Dickie Venables, but this whole team as a group, they really do jive. I'm very proud of all of them.
1st, 2nd, 3rd in the points. It doesn't get any better than that.
And the 6th win by Team Force here in 2002.
Tony Pedregon gets the jump, 300s off the starting line, but Tim Wilkerson picked it up first 300 feet. He caught up to him, but then started mixing the cylinders up, and that was all it took for Tony Pedregon to say goodbye and get the win. Down track, let's look at it. Let's see if we can see the cylinders. Don't really see any going out on Tim Wilkerson's car. He mixed them up. It was definitely slowing after the 330 right there. You see Tony starting to pull away. Indicates that Tim Wilkerson definitely had some problems there in the middle of the course.
Take a look at the points. Dencham still leads Force by 2. Tony is 77 back, and Witt drops to 4th, 105 behind, with Del Worsham rounding out the top 5. Time now for Top Fuel. Darrell Russell in his 2nd final, 2002. There's Wayne Dupuis, the man who turns the wrenches, and Larry Dixon. His tuner, Dick LaHaye, they have owned the finals of 2002. This is his 8th.
Boy, and they're going to be very tough, obviously, with the record they have. But you try to look at it and try to guess what the crew chief's going to do. Dick LaHaye, he ran 458, we said, in these kind of conditions yesterday in the 2nd qualifying run. Can't imagine he's going to want to do that. I would say he's still going to try to go out there and run that low 460 run.
Larry Dixon and Darrell Russell complete the burnouts. Let's go to the far end to Bill.
Tony, what a day. You dodged a bullet in round 1 against Creasy, beat your brother Frank in round 2, beat your boss in a whole shot in the semis, and just crushed him in the final.
Just things went our way today. John Medlin, Dickie Venables tuning this thing, making all the right calls. Being tough, being persistent. Castrol, Ford, All Pro Bumper to Bumper Auto Club. All the people that make us winners, Ford Racing Performance Parts. Wells Wheels, we did it right here in their hometown. We love that. And man, I didn't spend all my money on them hole shots, but it sure is a big win for us. Any given Sunday, we roll this thing out. We know we can win, and to be able to pull it off, it sure is great. Love Andrea back at home, my little daughter Seth, and man, we're gonna enjoy this one. And on to Chicago, guys. Good job, man.
Dave Reeve.
And Bill, how cool is this Top Fuel final? A couple of NHRA Rookie of the Years, young kids going to be here, the future of the sport, driving for legendary car owners, Don Perdome, Joe Amato. Tell you what, it doesn't get any better than this, Marty.
And Larry Dixon is 7-0 over Darrell Russell, including 3 finals. Bristol earlier this year, Brainerd, and Columbus of last year.
Wayne Dupuy's got his work cut out, so as Darrell Russell is going to have to get a good light and try to run a decent number.
Guess what? Darrell Russell's off the schneid. He's now 1-7, a 463 at 314 to the 467 at 316 of Larry Dixon. Look at this thing. Wayne Dupuy, he can't believe it.
Wayne, does it get any better? It doesn't get any better, man. We tuned that thing up for LaHaye. We did it in Bristol and beat ourselves. I said we're going down. Bilstein engine flush, Moto Racing, Valvoline, Matco. He's starting our motor.
Can you believe it happened so soon, though?
Yeah. Hey, Joe, we did it, baby. This one's for you, Joe. And God bless Stephanie in memory of her mother.
Love these guys.
This team's a little wired. They are loving life right now. And Darrell Russell, I guarantee you there's a huge smile underneath the helmet. You heard all the fireworks going off in the background. These were the fireworks. Normally they save that show for Friday night in the qualifying, but we got rained out, so they never got to use them. So they saved them up and surprised us all. Let's take another look at this final run as Darrell Russell laid one on him.
What a great run. A 460 reaction time for Darrell Russell, and he went 844 at 60 feet. That means Wayne Dupuy, like he said, was very aggressive. He stood on it. Darrell wasn't in deep. Still got a great light. That car ran all the way down through the lights, had 8 cylinders lit. Got a great win for that team.
And as the fireworks continue, Bill, let's go to the far end.
The last time Darrell Russell went to victory lane, it was in Las Vegas last fall and beat Kenny Bernstein in the final. Now you beat Larry Dixon to get your next Wally.
That was the first time in my career that I ever beat Larry Dixon in any round of elimination. This is just the sweetest thing I could ever think of. I mean, this is outstanding. I mean, O'Reilly, thanks for putting on such a great race. Joe Amato, I love you. Thanks for everything. Wayne Dupuy's done an awesome job this year. This whole crew is just starting to gel. We're going to be a team. Bilstein Engine Flush, Matco Tools, American Racing Wheels, and all the guys, including Valvoline. We love you. Thanks a million, and we're just happy as can be right now. Thanks.
And suddenly we got a new slant in the Top Fuel race.
And Darrell Russell jumps 3 positions in the points up to 6. Dixon's lead over Bernstein, 187. We're running out of time. There's our schedule for next week from Chicago. For Mike Dunn, Bill Stevens, Dave Reed, Parker Johnstone, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Marty Reed. Thanks so much for joining us here on the NHRA Powerade Drag Racing Series. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.